No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Unfiltered and Unapologetic with Pick and Stein. Pick, what's going on?
Oh my goodness. I have no idea what that clip was, but I loved it. We have a lot to talk about today, don't we?
I think segue was like the most popular word from last night's vice presidential debate. So I think that's a good segue right there.
Into our favorite clip, our favorite quote from last night.
That's right. Let's play it for you from Alpha Pence himself.
You're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts.
She was on the attack the whole time and couldn't even take a step back and, see where she is and be like thankful for what she has made of herself.
I agree. Pence was very appreciative and came off as a class act. Kamala came off as a bitch. And,
for lack of a better term, I was going to say that, but then I figured I shouldn't say that.
Stein was going to say it. And like my favorite part, I lulled was when Kamala was talking and Pence, he was like, he just let one of those out and she looked at him. But she literally just told a flat out lie. And so like that was the one time where Pence maybe lost his cool, where he was just like, bullshit. Like he didn't say it, but you could tell, you read all over his face, and you could hear the mic picked up his exhale.
Right.
I thought that was hilarious.
One of my favorite parts was when at the very beginning, Susan said, none of the questions have been shared with any of the candidates or anything. Well, about halfway through, at one point, they mentioned the economy, and Susan said, this is a great segue into our next topic. Well, Kamala Harris said, I agree, that is a great segue into our next topic, as if she knew what the question was going to be next.
Yep.
So I'm very curious, and I don't know if I'm the only one that noticed that, but for people who might be listening to this, go back and watch that. It was really, really interesting to me. The conspiracy theorist in me wants to think that possibly they shared the questions beforehand. Maybe it was to both parties. I don't know.
I heard them. Oh, well, I highly doubt they would share the questions beforehand. But if they did, it would definitely be to the Kamala Harris camp. And you could tell a lot of these questions were definitely left-leaning questions.
Yeah, but I think she did a much better job than Chris Wallace, man. I mean, he had a tougher job, I guess. They were a little more civil last night, but
definitely.
She held her own up there. I thought she did really good. And where was she from? USA Today? Is that right?
Yeah, USA Today, your favorite newspaper. I didn't like some of the questions, to be honest, but I thought Pence did a phenomenal job being like, well, I appreciate your question, Susan, but I'm actually going to use some time to respond back to Kamala, which was perfect because she spewed lies. He needed to respond to her. I thought some of the questions could have been better, but I thought Pence did a phenomenal job. I think you agree with that as well.
I think that we need to do a little dive into one of the main issues that I personally vote on, and that is the economics, the taxation, and all that sort of stuff. Because last night Kamala Harris said that they wouldn't undo the tax cuts unless you made over $400,000 a year, right? But then Biden said the first thing he is going to do is undo all the tax cuts. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's like wordplay. I'm not going to raise taxes on you, but I'm going to undo the tax cuts. So ipso facto, while I'm not technically raising your taxes by undoing what Trump did, I am raising your taxes by putting them back to what they were before. So really, you are raising it, but you're just getting around it.
Right. And it's more of, a socialist idea that they're pushing, right? Bernie, at least, comes out and says that he's a socialist. They don't necessarily admit that, but what they're proposing is a socialist economy, which, as we know, historically does not work, right? I mean, I cannot think of one single country that has ever succeeded in a socialist economy. And everyone always says, oh, what about the Nordic countries with Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, right? Well, they're not true socialist countries, contrary to popular belief. We'll dive a little more into this, but real quick, the prime minister back in, I think it was 2016 or something like that, he pretty much called out Bernie and was like, stop, using us as an example as a socialist economy that works. He's like, we are not a socialist economy. We are a free market economy with high taxation, which I don't necessarily agree with. But let's take a little more dive into that. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with Peter Schiff, and he's an American investor, really smart guy, has a fund that invests in countries outside of the U.S., and so he looks at a lot of these Nordic quasi-socialist countries, and he invests in the ones where he thinks he can actually make money. So he is very much an expert on studying governments as it pertains to fiscal policy and their economics. And here's what he had to say on socialism from the Joe Rogan podcast.
Works? Well, talk to a Swede, right? And they'll tell you that it doesn't work. But if you want to look at the history of Swedish socialism, Sweden became a very wealthy country before they had that socialism, right? They were very much of a free market economy, and it was the freedom that produced all the wealth. But then whenever you have wealth and you have freedom, you're always going to have inequality, right? Because people are smarter than other people, more ambitious, harder working. So whenever you have freedom, you're not going to have equality in outcome, even if everybody has, an equal opportunity. And of course, even that's not true. Everybody is equal in the eyes of the law, but there's always going to be some people that will have an advantage. Maybe they have better connections. They were born to, parents that are, have more money, and they can give them a leg up. So you're always going to have unequal outcomes. Some people are going to be rich relative to other people. But the beauty of capitalism is that everybody is better off. When you end up with socialism, you equalize everybody, but you equalize them at a lower level. You redistribute the poverty. The people who end up wealthy are the people who have political connections. So the wealthy people in socialist countries are the people who have political connections.
Boom. Exactly. What do you think about that, Pick?
I loved it. I mean, the best part is that he said the people that become wealthy are in the political, realm, which couldn't be more accurate. That's what I just don't. They say socialism now is a young person's idea. The average person, I was reading something the other day, is like they're about 30 years old, right? So it's a younger person's idea and ideology that they're trying to push. So,
yep.
I don't understand where it goes wrong. Like, it seems like there's always a recurring theme of, let's go to socialism now that we're like prosperous and we're more jobs and all this sort of stuff. People are making more money, and then we need to tax the rich more. Well, that just doesn't work. I mean, look at Venezuela, dude. They had people in the streets pretty much begging for food. I mean, it is one of the most obvious failures of socialism in today's modern world. There have been multiple dozens of examples of countries that have tried socialism that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So why can me and you, we can read a history book or look it up, and I'm not saying that other people don't do those sorts of things. It's just it seems so obvious to me.
I agree.
So obvious.
I agree. I mean, think about this, and this is going to piss some people off. Imagine being in Venezuela. There's literally a shortage of food. People are starving. This isn't a joke. Mm-hmm. And your family, you're starving. I mean, you're going to die from starvation. You got to kill your family dog and eat it to survive. I've heard stories about that shit happening. I mean, literally, people are hunting down dogs on the street for meat. It sounds fucking crazy, right? I'm serious.
I did not know where that was going.
I'm serious. I just want to shock people because they can't whatever. It's hard to fathom it, right? You go to even during the height of the pandemic. Oh my God, I went to Kroger. They're out of chicken. What the fuck am I gonna eat? Well, you're gonna have to eat pork tonight, or eat some fucking beans. We got a small taste of a little bit of a scare of food shortages, right? We got a small taste of it, but it was nothing.
Clear out
really.
all the toilet paper and all the paper.
Yeah,
towels.
I gotta wipe my ass with paper towels. If that's as bad as it ever gets, I'll be happy. But yeah, quick quote from one of my favorite presidents of all time, Ronald Reagan. Socialism only works in two places: heaven, where they don't need it, and hell, where they already have it.
I love it. I mean, okay, as extreme as that quote is, I love it. But in an ideal world, I guess heaven, socialism would, might work. Okay, I'll give it that. We just don't have an ideal world. People take advantage of systems and they abuse them. And then it absolutely drains the, economy. You just cannot support it economically. And the only answer that anyone ever has is raise taxes on the rich, raise taxes on the 1%. Well, guess what? those 1% of people are pretty damn smart, if I had to guess. And they'll probably leave the country if we get their taxes above 50%. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
And not to mention the number of jobs they've created, and by virtue wealth they've created for everyone. Like, I've seen Bernie Sanders attack Elon Musk on Twitter, and it's like, are you kidding me? You want to talk about like the Green New Deal, these ridiculous like government imposed plans. You got an entrepreneur here, a self-made billionaire who has created thousands and thousands of jobs in the green energy industry by doing it not through government subsidy. Granted, that he had some government subsidies at one point in time. Now Tesla is not subsidized in the U.S. at all. They're competing against other companies that are subsidized. They get a $7,500 tax credit, and they're kicking their ass making better products because they're innovative. And Tesla is up there with Apple as the icon of American ingenuity and innovation. And, you know, so, and then you got people like Bernie attacking him because he's a billionaire. Like, are you kidding me? He's like, he's created so much wealth for, and everyone who works for Tesla and SpaceX, they all have stock in those companies. So when the stock takes off, guess what? It's not just the founder that's making money and the employees in those companies as well. People don't get that. They like to beat up on the stock market. Virtually everyone has 401ks. Anyone can download an app, Robinhood, Acorn, and invest in the market and participate. So that always pisses me off when I see these socialists, you know, just villainize billionaires.
Well, let's rewind real quick a little bit, because I feel like we're kind of jumping everywhere again. But
we're talking about socialism.
Yeah, that's true. Going back to what Peter Schiff said, I think it's also like really important to kind of harp on the fact that these countries like Sweden and Denmark and Norway, they were very economically successful before they introduced these welfare states that they currently have, right? So they were very, very, very successful, had a lot of money before they introduced all these new policies. Now, all these policies are actually draining that, you know, fund that they had there. I feel like that needs to be harped on a little more, because we look at those economies and countries and go, wow.
I know where you're going. So let me play a little clip from Peter Schiff on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about how, in a little more detail, how capitalism preceded socialism in those countries.
Or before they became socialist. And then you also have to look at what the government is doing there, because the taxes on business are not, you know, extreme. The taxes are on the average guy. They have, I think in Sweden, I think the VAT is about 30% sales tax that you have to pay. I mean, this is a high sales tax. I mean, and then the income taxes impact average people. So, because they know, the Swedes know, if they really jack up taxes on businesses, the businesses will just leave and they'll destroy their economy. So at least they're trying to redistribute the wealth from the middle class to the middle class, you know. But this stuff doesn't work, and you create generations of people who now don't want to work, who just want to live off of other people. You destroy the initiatives, you destroy the incentives, and so the success that Sweden enjoyed is a byproduct of freedom and capitalism. And since they moved in that direction, they have slowed down that progress. But the Swedish people have recognized that. And that's why the reforms that have been made over the last decade or two have been to turn back the clock, to move away from those socialist policies and to try to dismantle. Now, they haven't gone completely the other way, just like New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand went so far. They went from like a totally socialist type economy, one that was like, you know, this was the example. If you believed in socialism, you would point to New Zealand as, see, this shows you, right? And then they went bankrupt. They went through a huge economic crisis in the 80s.
Previous to being socialist, were they successful with capitalism?
Yeah, of course.
That's how it always works.
Yeah, because if you're always socialist, then you never have any wealth to redistribute. It's capitalism that creates the wealth that the socialists want to redistribute.
Is that not perfect? Is that not sum it up right there, Pick?
Beautiful. I mean, you can't say it any better than that.
I didn't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, I agree. But
yeah, I also, you know, I want to say this as well. You know, people obviously have their own opinions, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion, obviously, right?
Yeah, but they're entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts.
Not their own facts,
Alpha
exactly. Pence said it best. There you go.
You're not entitled to your own facts.
If people, you know, everyone has different policies that they vote on, right? I feel like the majority of people vote on economics, for each presidential election. I feel like
people that have a pot to piss in and don't want to leech off the government teat. Yeah,
right. But a lot of people, don't vote on those issues. That's not their core issue that they vote on. A lot of people might vote on abortion or other things, right? And if that is the case, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But if you, honestly, truly do believe that we would be better off as a socialist country, I just feel like, go look at the history books. I mean, this is why we teach stuff. This is why history is so incredibly important in schools. I mean, we should have some sort of economic class based on or that talks about socialism and capitalism, pros and cons of each, in every single school, in every single high school, and let the kids understand, that it just doesn't work.
I 110% agree, and I'd like to go on the record right now and say, at our alma mater, the greatest university in the land, the University of Georgia, I took a capitalism class that was sponsored and paid for, and somehow they donated to the business school. John Allison, who was the CEO of BB&T, which was one of the only major banks to not take bailout money during the financial crisis. He wrote a book, gave a copy to everyone in the class. It was a fascinating class, and that's a big reason why I'm the successful free market capitalist I am today, is I took that class. I graduated from the journalism school, but I could take that class as an elective. I said, hell yeah, I'll take capitalism. And now they like to vilify capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about the University of Georgia likes to vilify it? Or
No, not UGA. I just mean like in general, like you say you're a capitalist now, I think it has a negative connotation to a lot of people.
Right. I mean,
is
it one of those things we have to change the narrative a little bit and change the wording on it and say, no, we're not we don't believe in capitalism. We believe in free market trade. What do you want to say?
I love the word capitalist. And while we're talking about capitalists, let me just read you a since-deleted tweet by Dick Costolo, however the hell you say his last name, who is the former CEO of Twitter and is worth $300 million. And I'm including his net worth in there for a reason. His tweet reply is, "Me first capitalists who think you can separate society from business are going to be the first people lined up against the wall and shot in the revolution. I'll happily provide video commentary." What do you think about that pick?
I mean, let's just flip it for a second, okay?
Yes.
Peter Schiff tweets, "I want to line up and shoot anyone who believes in socialism." Yep. I mean, could you imagine the backlash? I couldn't.
I think his tweet would have been flagged and taken down.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Oh my gosh. He would have been permanently banned from Twitter, guaranteed.
Oh yeah, 100%. But it's okay for old Dick to say it.
Yep.
Lining people
absolutely.
up and then videoing them while they get shot from a capitalist who made $300 million running one of the largest tech companies. Are you kidding me? Me first capitalism?
Twitter is
all right,
inherently...
Go donate your $300 million then, and then you can be this, I'm not looking out for myself. Everyone looks out for themselves first, okay? Like, at the end of the day, you can still be generous and look out for yourself. It's this bullshit narrative of, these guys are greedy.
Yep, I agree. I feel like we're really fired up this podcast, man. I like it.
I'm fired up.
We got some heat.
Nothing gets me fired up like the capitalism versus socialism argument, because I think it's an attack on America as we know it. This is a country, the greatest country in the world, that's built on capitalist ideas. I'd hate to see us go down. Just because we're the greatest country in the world doesn't mean we're going to stay.
Yeah, I mean, if we elect the wrong people into office, then we obviously won't. So, and that brings me obviously to another point that Kamala Harris dodged the question. I mean, Pence point blank asked her. He used his own time to ask her a question. Will you pack the courts? Right. And for anyone that may not know what that means, essentially what's going to happen is if this nomination goes through for Trump with Amy, if by some chance Biden gets elected, they're talking about packing the courts and actually expanding the number of Supreme Court justices from 9 to who knows how many, so that they will have control of the Supreme Court. And then they would control the Supreme Court, the White House, and the Senate. Oh,
that is just rich. And it's exactly what Biden did last week. Completely dodged the question.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously they're trying to hide something and they don't want to answer the question. So that leads me to believe that, yes, they truly would pack the courts if, I mean, oh my gosh, once again, he's elected for 4 years. Like, his term goes 4 years. And it's unfortunate what happened. You never wish death upon anybody, but I mean, that stuff happens. They're in the Supreme Court for a long time. They get old. So
they get old. Old people die. That's what they do.
Criticize him for nominating a new judge is insane.
Yeah, it's classic. The fact that this is a radical idea they haven't denounced is beyond me. And then Kamala Harris goes, well, you go back 150 years ago to 1864. Abraham Lincoln didn't nominate a Supreme Justice in the last year of his term. So and she quoted him. People have been doing some digging. First of all, no one can find that exact quote she said. And secondly, what I've read is that's because when Taney, who was the justice at the time, died on October 13th, the Senate was out of commission. This was roughly a month before the election. When they returned on December 6th, they nominated Salmon Chase, hell of a name, that day, and the Senate confirmed him that day too. So, and this was 150 years ago, where you have to write a letter to communicate, and everyone's getting around on horse and buggy. So it's a little hard to convene the whole
Express
Senate.
Was still around back then,
yeah,
right?
I mean, maybe they had the railroads, but still, communication was extremely difficult. So, classic go back 150 years to find an example that might fit your narrative. We've had 9 since 1869, just for the record. Just if we're going to go back 150 years, we've had 9 Supreme Court justices since 1869. So for 150 years. So it changed a few times before then, but just, because Kamala wants to talk 1864, we'll go back 150 years. And so we're just going to turn her logic around on her.
Yeah. Well, once again, going back to what she said, she says something like that, and people take her for her word, right? I mean, to be honest, I didn't know any better. I thought, man, that is kind of crazy that Abe didn't, nominate a Supreme Court justice when he was in office. I wonder why he did that. And no one is going to take the time, besides Stein, the man, the myth, the legend, to go back and actually research what was done.
Thank God for Twitter.
What truly happened.
Absolutely. But she had that ready in her pocket because she knew that was going to come up. They were going to press her, and she's going to deflect.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Just like the race card she pulled, man. I'm sorry, but
I was just like, wow, really?
Yeah. I mean, be proud. Yeah.
What? Not one of them. I guarantee you there were some women in there, but she's like, all right, what? There were no blacks? Oh, there's an Asian? Okay, no black? All right, perfect. That's perfect.
Yep. Yeah.
Dude.
And it just blows my mind, man. You can't make it up. You literally cannot make it up. Every single time they say something, and I just go, oh my good Lord, why say that? You're pulling a race card. Like,
they
I just
love
don't. It's
to pull
crazy,
the race card.
Man.
All right, Pick, why don't you summarize the vice presidential debate last night in a few words for us?
All right. Well, a few of the key takeaways. Well, first off, I have to mention it. The fly on Pence's hair, dude. Like, that was so distracting. It was a solid, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 minutes maybe that I couldn't focus on anything. I just kept staring at the fly. So I think flies are for Trump Pence 2020. I believe is what I took out of that.
The contrast on his white hair and the black fly.
Yeah, honestly, there could have been one in Kamala's hair as well, but we just never known.
Could have been a bat in there.
Oh gosh. All right. So on a serious note, okay. So key takeaways, in my opinion, they're going to take away tax cuts. They're going to push universal health care, which, it just doesn't work. Historically, it doesn't work.
But what about the poor people with pre-existing conditions, Pick?
Well, they're going to be covered. Don't you worry, Stein. Guess what? As a person with a pre-existing condition, I am still voting for Trump.
Okay.
2020,
I've seen a lot of scary ads saying otherwise, so I just want to make sure those were lies as well.
Yes, sir. So another one is that she wouldn't completely admit it, but we do believe, they're going to end fracking, which, extracts gas and oil from the earth. Is it environmentally friendly? Probably not. But the oil and gas industry, supports roughly like 10 million jobs. So, me and Stein are both all for looking for, cleaner energy in the future, but we can't just cut out what is currently working. It's helping keep all the oil and gas prices down. I mean, think about however many, 10 years ago when it was like $5 a gallon? I mean, that was insane.
Yeah, that was crazy. I think, to your point, we have to slowly phase it out and do so in innovative, entrepreneurial, capitalistic ways. Like I always keep going back to Elon, but he's an incredible American entrepreneur and green energy advocate who does it the right way, not by demanding it through government, but by doing it through innovation and building products that work and that make sense and makes people want to transition to clean energy. And
exactly.
I just think some people think like Greta, and she told me to share this message with you.
How dare you?
How dare you?
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet, I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yes, you are.
People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
How dare you? How dare you, Vic?
How dare you, Stein? How dare you? Oh my goodness.
You capitalist son of a bitch. You don't like the environment at all.
First off, how did she ever get where she is today? Why were politicians and people ever taking advice from how old is she? 13 years old?
If that.
Explain to me that. How does that happen?
Oh, she's 17 as of today.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's almost legal.
There you go.
She'll be voting next year.
Oh, God. Well, good thing she's not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, thank God. She's from Sweden. A little socialist. That little queen.
Oh, gosh. And then one last thing I want to say about the debate. The most interesting part to me, which I clearly thought that Pence won the debate. Afterwards, when they were interviewing people were saying it was 50-50, whatever they want to try and push.
Shocker.
Right. And so I thought it was interesting. I guess it's the CEO or whoever it is from Pollster, the guy that had the 18 people that were undecided, and they were going to watch the VP debate and kind of make up their mind. Well, from that poll, those 18 people, Pence was clearly the winner. So. And it was more about the fact that Kamala was just so, I don't even know the correct word. What's that?
Unlikable?
Unlikable. There you go. That's a nice way to say it. I was thinking of much more crude terms, but we'll go with unlikable.
Well, we already called her a bitch, so bitchy was already taken.
That word was thrown around.
How about a self-righteous? Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Is that too strong?
Wow. No, not too strong for Stein.
I thought it was fair. Yeah. I thought that was a really nice summary. The biggest word of the debate last night was segue, and I was trying to figure out a way to fucking segue this, and that just came off terribly, but we'll just run with it. I wanted to follow up with our previous episode we talked about IQ, and you were going to get back to me with details. I watched some Jordan Peterson videos. I wanted to learn about the mentally challenged in terms of IQ portion of the population that nobody's really talking about. What really struck me as actually being crazy was 83 is that threshold. And there's a portion of the population that's below that threshold. And that threshold is so low that if you're below 83, they won't let you join the military. And the U.S. wants as many people to join the military as possible. For wartime, it's obviously you want more bodies. And even in peacetime, you can use them for other things. And it helps rehabilitate people that need structure in their life. And it helps bring people out of poverty. And it's really great for people who are trying to find themselves and find meaning in their lives. So the fact that the military won't take you because you're obviously at that point you're a threat and a liability if you're below a certain IQ was eye-opening to me. And so that is pretty crazy, I thought.
Yeah, I guess pretty much just spinning off that. The video, I kind of misquoted it a little bit in the last episode, and I wanted to clarify. It's not that they can't do a job below 83, right?
Right.
It's the fact that there are so few jobs for people below those IQs. So in the video, he breaks down the average IQs for jobs, right? So in your above 140, 150, whatever it is, those are your doctors, lawyers, all those sorts of things. Well, he starts going down and down and down and down. Well, you get to the average IQ, which is 100, and, he lists those jobs and all those sorts of things. Well, he gets down below 83, and you just look at, there's not many jobs available, not for the amount of people that have an IQ below 83. So his stat is 1 in 10 Americans have an IQ less than 83. So
wow,
yeah, it's
I
crazy.
didn't know the exact number.
I don't know how no one's talking about this besides him, but like you said,
well, we're talking
the U.S. Yeah. Hot takes here on Pick and Stein. Jobs available, there's just not enough.
Right.
There's 20 million people that are below that threshold. Well, there might only be 10 million jobs.
How about I say of a fast food job? Because he even went in. He's like, okay, you think anyone can work at McDonald's? Well, no. You have. There's actually a certain amount of brain power it takes to do that, and it almost seems funny. Like it's always a joke. Oh, go flip burgers at McDonald's. Well,
right.
You actually have to
maybe
have,
maybe we can link the video. I don't know if we can do that.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. So going back to the U.S. Armed Forces, I mean, they're the ones that have come up with this criteria, right?
Yep.
Now they don't call it an IQ test, of course.
It's
they
illegal.
Can't say we're testing your IQ. Yeah, that's illegal, right? They call it their Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Test. So there is a test that you have to take to become a member of the U.S. Armed Forces. And if you don't pass this test, you are not allowed to, like mentally, right? I mean, you don't have the mental capacity to join the U.S. Armed Forces. So he addresses the problem. He states the problem. Now he then says, what's the solution, right? And he doesn't necessarily offer a solution. And he says, the far right says, oh, well, they're going to find jobs, right? They'll just find jobs. And then the far left just says, oh, just supplement them, give them money. They'll be fine, right? And the answer is neither. So there's got to be some sort of compromise there where we can, help that certain population and, not just by giving them money and doing all these other sorts of things. Stein,
is there so is their version like the ASVAB test, which is it tests your knowledge of basic concepts and skills? Is that is that kind of their equivalent?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people know David Goggins. I've read his book twice. He's a incredible story. I think a lot of people are familiar. He's been on all sorts of podcasts, including Joe Rogan, and he failed the ASVAB twice. And he has a learning disability, and he obviously was traumatized as a kid and went through hell. I gave you this book, so I know you've read it. But it says generally this is knowledge you would have acquired in high school. So I'm wondering if that's the same thing as the IQ test, because I know IQ is like fluid knowledge.
No, it is. That is the exact test. It's the ASVAB. That's exactly what it is.
So he took the test twice, studied. To me, if it's a test you can learn in high school, if you're willing, and he said it was hard as hell for him. Like he had to memorize stuff and learn. He had to do it 10 times in a row and just over and over and over again. I'm sure it'd come way more naturally to us and to most people. But he fucking passed it on his third time. So that's where
I was gonna say, but didn't he barely pass too?
Yeah,
I remember reading that book.
Yeah. I don't think he aced it by any means, but it just means he passed it, right? So I'm all about sure, you're not going to be as smart as other people, but if you work hard enough, you can find a way. You can qualify yourself to do that job. So I don't like the fact that it's like, oh, I was born stupid. I'm fucked.
Right. I guess he's a prime example of someone who probably would have tested with an IQ less than 83 originally, but he just had the drive and determination to pass that test because he knew what he wanted to do in life. Right.
Because I mean, if I take your argument to the next level, and not your argument, but what's being presented, it's like, well, we should pay all these people because they can't do any jobs, and so we might as well just pay them to sit at home. But guess what? What are they going to do sitting at home? They're not going to value themselves. They're not going to feel like they have meaning in their lives. They're just sitting at home collecting a check from the government. I really think people need work to have purpose in their life, whatever it is. So I don't know if that's the answer as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Once again, I don't have a solution to the problem. I just figured that we should follow up on it because we mentioned it last time and we were kind of joking about it. But it is kind of a serious issue. And I think that, we need to bring it to the forefront and people need to be talking about it. But I mean, let's be honest. The only thing that we can do is take our own IQ test and see how smart we are. What do you think?
I think we need to do that. Now, I've read that the SAT, ACT, those are all like proxies for IQ tests. And it makes sense because it tests your like high school knowledge. So, but they're not like a straight up IQ test. One of my friend's ex-girlfriends apparently is like a genius and like aced her IQ test and was in like the top 1%. And so she like is able to join Mensa, or maybe she took the test for Mensa. Have you heard of Mensa?
No, I don't know what that is. It
is the largest and oldest high IQ society in the world. So in order to get into Mensa, you have to get a 132, I believe. You have to be in the 98th percentile on a standardized IQ test. So she's in Mensa and has like a Mensa pin, which I thought was crazy. That
I think that we should make that our goal, right? We need to both be in Mensa.
Hell yeah! I mean, you want to hear a podcast from two Mensa certified, good-looking guys?
Yeah, that could be our new title. Something about with Mensa.
The Mensa men, unfiltered and unapologetic. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if that's gonna be really hard to get into Mensa.
Well, I mean, but I still think that we should take an IQ test, right?
I'm reading right now about an 11-year-old who earned a perfect score on the test. So he said it's written in a way that any person can do it. So yeah, we'll hack this fucking thing.
I'm in. I'm down. Let's do it.
Well, great. Now I got to study for this fucking thing on top of everything else I'm doing. Great. Looking forward to that.
That and the debate that's coming up.
Oh yeah. Oh, speaking of that little queen, Jason, has he got back to you? Has he said anything? Listen to the podcast?
Not yet. But I will say we did have some positive feedback for the most part. I'm sure I had some more people go unfollow me from Instagram. So
really,
maybe not the most positive feedback, but we got some positive feedback and I'm cool with that.
All right. Well, send me their numbers. I have a little surprise for those people.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you if you made it this far. We really appreciate you listening. Have a great rest of your day. Everyone, have a great rest of your day as well. We're out.
Enjoyed it.